Today's video most likely gonna be either the vlog style, if I will fail to replace the engine mounts, or the DIY style video when where I show you how I replace the engine mounts on my 2009 4.8 naturally aspirated Cayenne S. What I did, I removed the wheel well liner to get the access to this area. It was covered with the airbox. So airbox got those two kind of tabs, I would say, that goes into those two spots. And in order to remove left side airbox, first of all you remove those intake pipes. In order to remove the pipes, you're gonna need to pull those tabs from the center. Most likely those supposed to have like a little tabs that protrudes, from one side, and you need to align it with this groove. Otherwise you won't be able to pull the tab out. So someone, I guess, already used some brute force and broke this kind of tab on the side, but that's not a big deal. It's pretty tight, and I can show you the deal right here, where it goes into the airbox. So you cannot pull this bolt or pin from the hole unless this tab, this one, is aligned with the channel, with the groove. So you remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those pins. You disconnect the airflow sensors, and you remove the intake pipe. So the next step after the pipe is removed, you would like to remove the airboxes. You remove the front cover, you remove the filter, and then you'll see two bolts holding the airbox. This one of the bolt on one side, this is the bolt on the passenger side. Additionally, on the driver side, there's gonna be the thing for the negative cable for the jump start. So it's gonna protrude right here, and it's gonna be on the way from for airbox removal. So you need to remove this kind of negative terminal as well. Next, I remove the this part of the airbox. Please note, it's also connected to this pipe, which is actual air intake from the front, and it's somewhat cumbersome to remove it because there is no flex on this pipe. So I used screwdriver to pry it off. Same thing with the airbox on the passenger side. Again, I used a screwdriver and pried it because it was very hard to do it with the bare hands. On the passenger side, I removed this. It's probably like a heat shield that been held by two bolts. One bolt in the bottom, one bolt on the top, and there's like a clamp that goes around one of the pipes. So it's fairly easy to remove. So this is the upper bolt that holds this heat shield, and down below, where is it? I cannot see it from here. And yeah, there we go. This is the, maybe it's gonna be easier from this side. This is the second bolt that holds this heat shield. You remove those two bolts and kind of slide the heat shield, you know, releasing this clamp. Then you got the access to the nut that holds the, you know, upper side of the engine mount. And let me point it with the screwdriver. Do you see it? Or you cannot? Right here. And you go with the socket from the top. What makes this bolt slightly tricky is the alternator or generator hanging here, and it doesn't give, you know, enough room for the ratchet, you know, to crank. So it was I struggled in the beginning because I was you know, I was losing the nut, like here. I was removing the ratchet. I was twisting the you know, thing by one click, just one click. Then I was putting it back on a nut, loosen, remove, you know, rotate by one click, because this space given didn't allow the ratchet to do the single click. So technically, if you're not lazy like me, you can remove the belt. You can remove two bolts holding the alternator. I guess those, it's supposed to be two bolts. This one and the one somewhere here underneath. You should probably see it from here. And then you'll be able to kind of push the alternator forward. I'm not sure about this front bracket on the alternator, if it's been, you know, secured somewhere to the engine block or not. So don't quote me on those two bolts at least, and maybe front bracket needs to be released as well. Don't forget, this is the how it calls, the alternator that's been cooled down with the coolant. So there are two coolant hoses connected to this alternator. So I opted to have the alternator in place, and because of that, I did have only that much room to operate this upper nut. Eventually, once I loosen it, I used you know, a little one like the 1/4 inch ratchet, because it gave me like more space, you know, to rotate. There was like at least like 2 clicks I could hear, and the upper nut is the 18 mil size. Also, as you can see, there is the, you know, part of the, can you or you cannot? Let me know right away. I'm gonna point. There is a part of the alternator right here, and so you have this much space, you know, for your ratchet, you know, to and ratchet and socket. So you need to make sure the socket is not too high, otherwise you're gonna hit this part of the alternator, and socket is not too low, otherwise you won't be able to reach the nut, which is, you know, right here underneath. So it was the combination of, you know, like small extensions and you know, and whatnot, for me to be able to move this nut or to loosen this nut. And so eventually, yeah, I got this nut off, and that's where I stopped at the moment. It's time for me to loosen the nut on the passenger side, which could be even more tricky because the nut is located not straight here, but it's located back there, besides this heat shield. You probably can see it, like the nut is located, where the nut is located. So yeah, and you can see right next to it there is the exhaust manifold, the header, that it's also leaves like that much room for the ratchet to operate. So it's gonna be another challenge. Also, what makes it harder, those nuts are kinda self-tapping, if you wish, because they're squeezed on the top, and even when you lose this nut, it still spins really hard. So that's the challenge. But let's try to loosen this nut on the driver's side, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, looks like I was able to put a socket and ratchet in place, and I'll try to do my best, releasing it, because it's very tight. Let me check if I'll have enough leverage. Nope, I did not. Oh, I guess it moved again for just one click. Yep, it moves, but you can, guys, I guess, can feel the pain of this. Let me try 2 clicks. 1, 2. Maybe it's gonna be slightly. Yeah, 2 clicks work. Okay, this side is definitely easier than the right side or passenger side if you do not remove the alternator. Oh, it started to do 2 clicks now. One nut is out. This one, I guess, is still loose, and the freaking passenger side nut. And you can see this, it's not round, it's smooshed one side. That's why it doesn't spin as freely. That's ridiculous. All right, what I'm gonna do right now, don't mind this nasty looking dirty engine, I'm gonna put a probably chain in between of those 2 hooks. I'm gonna put a engine support thing, and I'm gonna try to lift the engine slightly, and we'll see how it's gonna. So I put my engine support bar from Harbor Freight and position it in the middle of the engine. I use this chain from this mounting point to the mounting point in the back. I'm slightly concerned because I think those mounting points were designed for the leverage be applied vertically, while the chain kind of squish them together. I am very concerned so they doesn't break the aluminum head because of the force kind of making them goes towards each other. Hopefully my fear is kind of unbased or whatever the word could be. So the engine actually raised probably around 1/4 of an inch, so it's I can shake it already. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna raise the car up on a lift and we'll see what's happening underneath. I don't know yet for sure what needs to be kind of unhooked, undone, but I purchased 4 those supports, so I would like to secure the frame, or not the frame but subframe on them, because we need to drop the subframe to be able to clear the the space for the mounts to come out and new mounts come in. So that's the next step. I'm gonna raise the car now and we'll proceed further. Forgot to mention, I guess I forgot to mention, we need to undone 3rd engine mount. Those are 2 bolts, 1 and 2, holding the driver's side engine mount to the subframe. This is the bolt I'm pointing the finger right now to, and there is the bolt 1 right there that are holding the passenger side engine mount to the subframe. I was slightly worried about this bolt, but I found that 16 mil, I guess it's called offset wrench, I'm not sure what it is, but it's actually perfectly goes inside, and again you can twist it that much, but thankfully it goes pretty easily, not like the nut on the top. So I bet it can be easily removed. I'm not sure how long is the bolt, hopefully not too long, because otherwise it's gonna be hitting the front differential, but hopefully it's not gonna give us too much trouble. Okay, all 3 other bolts are fairly easily accessible. This bolt probably as well, with the same wrench. On the driver's side, let's take a look how long are the bolts. Let's take a look how long are the bolts, and you can see they can easily be undone with the bare hands. They're pretty long, but hopefully again okay, we're gonna drop the subframe. Technically it should be enough even to drop it like that, and okay, scratch that. It's slightly different situation here. You can use probably the extension and the normal ratchet to do this. For that one, probably gonna need the swivel extension, whatever it calls. But yeah, it seems to be pretty easy to do. What we're gonna need to do here, most likely we're gonna need to detach the steering wheel column shaft from the steering rack, because the steering rack gonna go down with the subframe. Looks like it's easier to undo this thing rather than to unmount the steering rack from the subframe. In regards to the struts, I'm not sure yet if I need to undo the strut assembly housing, whatever it is, from from there. So when we're gonna lower the subframe, the strut will go down with the subframe as well, or maybe we do not need to do, and the flex in the suspension should be enough, even with the strut mounted right there. We'll check on that later. Now I see that we're gonna need to undo this hose, not undo, just unclip this hose from the subframe, so it doesn't actually no, since we're dropping the steering rack with the subframe, it can stay. So my bad, we're gonna leave it in place. I'm gonna undo all the bolts for the engine mounts. I'm gonna undo the steering rack connection. So there is the shield, which is being held by, looks like 2 bolts in the bottom, 10 mils, and we'll proceed from there. I removed all the bolts. Actually, let me scratch that. I removed 2 bolts from the driver's side engine mount. I pretty much undone those 2 bolts, but didn't remove them because the subframe is on the way from the passenger side engine mount. Let me see if yeah, probably like that. I undid the bolt for the steering rack shaft, and it's actually lifting without any pry bars, tools. It's I mean, I just lift it with my bare hand, and looks like there is just one position it can go in. Some of them, on some other makes, there are like some splines, and you can actually put the steering shaft on a different angle, but on this one it's gonna be the same angle, so I do not need to worry about the steering shaft being positioned incorrectly comparing to how it was positioned before. That's good news. So steering shaft is undone. Probably right now I'm gonna install those stands to support the subframe and start to lower it, because I would like to see if it's gonna be stuck or it's gonna move, and I got 4 of them just to control every side of the subframe. I would like to lower it in the controlled manner. Folks, partial success. So I removed the front subframe bolt, I removed the rear subframe bolt, and I removed the bolt that holds this kind of subframe that the mount actually sits on. So there is like a crossbar on this one, and this is the one that the mount sits on. I already finagled. I already removed one of the first one of those things. Again, the wiring, the the pipes are on the way. So it took me quite some time to move it around, going back and forth, but finally I was able to move it. Also, it really helps to play with that thing back and forth to make this like a sweet spot when you can somewhat free up the mount. I'm gonna compare them to the new mounts. I think the new mounts most likely gonna be taller, because those technically supposed to be sagged. Let me see if there is yes, it's from 2008, made in Korea. Interesting. Never knew the Korea was making parts for Porsches. So let me check. Not sure which one is which. No, that's not the right one. This is the right one. Let me remove the bolts and let's see if how different are they. Probably hard to say, quarter to half an inch higher, which may present some challenges in installation. So now I'm gonna try to fish out. Okay, let me put it here so I can compare later on which one is left, which one is right. They're looking very similar. So I'm probably gonna need two hands, so I won't be able to give you a good look. Maybe from here, I don't know. Yeah, this one kind of comes and goes fairly easily, but I need to find the spot where I can fish it out from. Actually, I didn't thought about it beforehand. So there is the mount, but okay, probably it may come right from here. I'm gonna need both hands so I can remove those pipes, and that should do the trick. No. We were that close. Ah, crap. It's literally a millimeter. Yes. Whew. This one is as well manufactured in 2008, so it's the original one for this Cayenne. Now I'm gonna try to finagle the new ones, which is gonna be much more of a challenge because those were sagged, both of them, I would say. All right, I probably won't be able to film it because I'm gonna need two hands, but if I'll come across any particular difficulties, I'm gonna let you know. It is probably counterintuitive, but for some reason the new ones took me less time to install than to remove the old one from both sides. I am not sure what the deal is. This one took me slightly longer to finagle than the left or driver's side, but even then it was quicker or faster than to remove the shorter the old one. So I'm not sure, to be honest, but I'm gonna tighten those mounts in place, maybe not too tight, or at least I'm gonna put some bolts while I can. Then I'm gonna put this thing in place by attaching those bolts here, and then we'll go in a opposite direction. So it wasn't as you know, scary as I thought it's gonna be, which again, we don't need to loosen any of the suspension components. Just be careful with the, you know, with the pipes or hoses, but looks like this even helps to secure subframe kind of in place. So you can see those are pretty relaxed. The subframe most likely is right now sits on the strut, which is good. Like some additional how it goes, safety. All right, at this point I'll install the screws that holds together this like intermediate you know, thing, brace, whatever it is, and at the same time we need to make sure the engine mount is aligned with the engine block, otherwise it won't fit in place. I'm doing the same thing from the other side. All right. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing from the other side. Making sure it's aligned. Now I'm gonna use the breaker bar to tighten it. Same thing from the other side. Now I need to raise the subframe, but before I'm doing that I need to make sure that the steering shaft is still sits in place, and it does. So I will raise those stands, and sorry guys, I will raise those stands, and you see the subframe is being lifted, making sure it comes to its spot. If not, I'm gonna need to wiggle it slightly. Looks like it doesn't match 100%. I will need to, you know, push it slightly to the back so the bolt will align with the hole. I installed 4 bolts for the subframe. I installed those 2 cross-member bolts. I installed the steering shaft bolt and the shield. So at that point, looks like I am ready to drop the car back on the ground and remove the engine support bar. What wonders me slightly is that this subframe doesn't have any guide pins that, you know, secures it in just exact position, like for example my BMW had. This one I can actually play with the subframe quite a bit. I mean, talking maybe even more than a quarter of an inch, like, you know, sideways, back and forth. I installed the subframe based on the old marks from the bolts, but I feel it may be not enough, and there is a chance it's gonna need the alignment done. I'm not sure why they did it, why the subframe doesn't have any guide pins, but it is what it is. And yeah, once we're gonna drop the car and remove the engine support bar, that's gonna be the step that, you know, slightly makes me nervous. Those freaking 2 nuts. I don't know why, but those 2 nuts for me kinda been probably most difficult part of this, you know, repair step. All right, the car is down. I made sure that the upper part of the engine mount is properly sitting, or engine is properly sitting on the engine mount. There is like a tab. Let me show you, like this one here. So this tab goes inside the hole, and yeah, both sides looks okay. So right now I'm gonna be removing or releasing the engine. You know, let me spray some WD-40 so it goes more smoothly. Okay, all right, much better. All right, but regardless, I'm gonna remove the chain, and next, those 2 freaking nuts is on the table. So I tightened both nuts, and again, it seemed to be more easier than to undo them. Maybe it's because I already knew what kind of technique you know, I need to, you know, perform, and that what made it, you know, slightly easier. I'm not sure, but right now I'll try to remove the not remove, but I'll try to install this shield. I need to find this pipe. It should kind of snapped into or around, and then it's gonna be two bolts. I snapped in the shield, and it's easier to see from here actually when you do so. And right now I'm on the left to put those 2 screws holding the shield, one on the top, one in the bottom here. I only want to say it's not too convenient to hold the camera and try to align the bolt. It looks like we've succeeded as well. I'm gonna tighten them now, and on the next step it looks like it's gonna be the time to put the air boxes in place. Let's try to fit the passenger side airbox. I do recall it was pretty tight fit, Let's check it out. If I'm mistaken, it was coming from the top. And there's the hose on the way from the coolant. I wish I would remember how I removed it. My flashlight is on the way. And now you cannot see anything, I guess. Right. Okay, it's better now. I will need to the windshield washer is leaking. Looks like not a big deal. Let me, okay, those two things didn't fit. Oh, come on, it should be easier than that. Okay. Come on. It's almost there. Almost. Looks like I need to start over. Oh my God. Now it's super slippery in the garage. Warrant harness on the other side. Those two tabs in place. One is there. The other one is there. Yay! Okay. It's fitted in place. Now I need somehow to put this intake pipe in, but camera slightly is on the way. Oh, it's gonna be another challenge. Like I told you previously, it was pretty tight, so I used a screwdriver to pry it off. And now I need something to to pry it in. All right, I'm gonna need more space, and I'm gonna get back to you once I'm gonna done. So the passenger side airbox is installed. I put a bolt, and this is what, you know, what is on the way, and it's fairly tight for the box to squeeze in. But yeah, everything is good. I attached this, intake pipe, and I'm gonna proceed on the driver's side now. Don't recall, it was about the same, talking about how tricky it is. That's the airbox. Again, it's pretty tight fit. If anyone knows kind of the better way to make it fit. Okay, all right, this wasn't too hard. Let me remove this bolt. Okay. I got something jammed. What's that? You heard the pop. This is the intake pipe connected to the box, so we are okay here as well. I'm gonna tighten this 10mm bolt. That's it. Technically we already can fit the new filters. All right, it goes that way. The other filter goes that way, and I need to find the covers somewhere. I got those clamps. 1, 2. Okay, both air boxes are in place. I won't install this intake pipe yet for the obvious reasons. I don't have the intake yet because I'm waiting for the new thermostat and new thermostat socket. That's the current thermostat socket is leaking, so the thermostat socket is connecting this part of the engine where the coolant pump is, and this is the part where the thermostat is, and there is like a gap between them, so it's like a socket, like a bridge, and looks like one of the leaks is worn. That's why it's leaking the coolant, and then the coolant is baking on the top in the valley right here, and that's why I sprayed it, and that's why it's all messy here, because I was cleaning the valley in between of the heads. So that concludes the replacement of the engine mounts for 957 Cayenne 4.8 naturally aspirated. This is Cayenne S. I'm not sure if what was the next one, GTS or whatever. The Cayenne is the up next level. It's probably should take care about GTS as well, or is it GXP, GTS, whatever. So yeah, questions, comments, please write down below, and with that, take care guys.